Well, it's been a few years, but Dragon Ball is finally back with its latest installment, Dragon Ball Daima. Now back in 2022, we got Dragon Ball Super Superhero, and if you've seen my review, you'd know that I wasn't a big fan of it due to numerous reasons. The CG was underwhelming, the new forms were very stupid, and most importantly, the film felt like a poor rehash of the Cell Saga. Because of my disappointment with Superhero, I wasn't too excited about seeing Daima, although being as big of a Dragon Ball fan as I am, I was still obviously going to watch it. And now that I fully finished it, that begs the question. Is it any good and is it worth watching? Let's find out. So Dragon Ball Daima takes place a year after the Buu Saga and a few years before Super. For the first time ever, we see the Demon Realm where we get introduced to Goma and the Supreme Kai's brother Degisu. Goma was Deborah's vice king, but since Deborah is dead, this means that Goma is now the new king of the realm. However, after witnessing the Z Warrior stop Deborah and Majin Buu, Goma becomes worried that they'll come here and kill him too. He then decides to go to Earth and turn everyone into children since he believes they'll be too weak to stop him. Him and Degisu take Dende as a hostage. Another demon comes called Gloria.
What kind of music do you like, Gloria?
Think of it.
From the screen to the ring to the pen to the king.
He takes Goku and the Supreme Kai to the Demon Realm. They search for the Dragon Balls and hope to gather them so they can wish for everyone to be returned back to normal. That's a very brief plot summary, and overall it's certainly weird, but also not in a bad way. Now I know what you're thinking.
I know what you're thinking.
I know what you're thinking,
Aaron,
John.
I know what you're thinking.
I know what you're
Aaron,
thinking,
John. I see the cards on the table. I know what you're thinking.
Isn't this just a rehash of GT? Sort of, I guess, but it's not a one-for-one copy, although the idea of Goku being turned into a kid again definitely is. This time though, it's literally everyone that gets turned into kids. It's a very weird as well as dumb premise, but at least they went all out with the idea. We get to see all these characters be kids, and some for the first time too. Seeing Kid Hercule and Roshi is something I didn't know I wanted, but I'm happy I got to see them. However, like I just said, this premise is very weird. Like seriously, who asked for basically a GT remake where Goku and the goddamn Supreme Kai go on an adventure together? Not only that, but they go exploring the Demon Realm, which was pretty much a throwaway line back in the Buu Saga. The villains are the Supreme Kai's brother and sister, the big bad is Deborah's vice king, and again, this all takes place years before Super. I can't stress this enough, this premise is so bizarre and sort of dumb, but the crazy thing is, it's really not that bad. Yes, it is silly seeing Goku as well as everyone else be kids. That's something I'm not a big fan of. It's bizarre having this take place years before Super, especially after we just got a multiple year time skip in the last film. Most importantly though is the Demon Realm itself, since like I said, back in the Buu Saga this was basically a throwaway line. This was meant to make Deborah seem super threatening as a character since he ruled an entire realm full of demons. However, besides this being mentioned, we never actually got to see it, and it's been like that ever since. Now 3 decades later, Toriyama randomly decides to come back to this plot line because why not? He already brought back Frieza, Future Trunks, and of course Cell, so next on the list was returning to the Buu Saga. Guess it would have been way too dumb to bring back yet another deceased villain, so instead Toriyama decided to do something interesting and different, that being exploring and expanding the lore of the series by showing off the Demon Realm. I know I'm repeating myself, but this is so bizarre and surreal. Like really, why is this something Toriyama decided to go back to? If I had to guess, he wanted to go back to the series roots and have it be more of an adventure instead of a superpower shonen battle one. He must have been tired of having everything be set in space, so he went back, noticed this, and saw that it had potential for a full show. And you know what? It definitely did, because the Demon Realm is pretty good.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Bitch.
Now, it's not as insanely creative as One Piece with its worlds, but on its own, it's not half bad. There's a lot of different environments, fun ideas, cool designs, but most importantly, there's a lore, which is easily one of the best things to come from Daima. We find out that everyone who has pointed ears originated from the Demon Realm. This includes Deborah, obviously, the Supreme Kai, and even the Namekians. It turns out the Namekians used to live in the Demon Realm, but left a long time ago, and they all moved to planet Namek. There was, however, one that stayed in the realm, and apparently he's known as a legendary Neva. He has an insane amount of magical power, created the Dragon Balls in the realm, and even made 3 super duper powerful figures called the Tamagami. He can also force the Dragon Balls to unturn from being rocks, even though they were just used a few months ago. There's also this one object called the Evil Third Eye, which grants someone unlimited power and regenerates them whenever they receive damage. There's some genuine great world building and lore here, and none of it seems like a rehash of something that we've already seen before. For example, there's the Dragon Balls, which this time there's only 3 of them, and each of them are guarded by one of the Tamagami. In order to get the Dragon Dragon Ball from them, you need to beat them in a fight and then answer one of their questions correctly. Sure, it's nothing groundbreaking by any means, but it's something fresh and different. There's a Supreme Kai's sister Aransu who creates Majin Ku and Majin Du, who at first I weren't big fans of. I thought there's no way we're getting a cheap knockoff of Majin Buu, even though that's sort of what we got. Now, while they are similar to Buu in terms of looks and even personality for Du, I'm overall fine with their inclusions. It makes sense why they look so similar to Buu since they're made from his essence, but even ignoring that, they're somewhat fun characters on their own. The main reason for this is because there's two of them. Having both Ku and Du interact with each other is a fun dynamic and helps separate them from feeling nothing more than a cheap rehash of Majin Buu. Ku is definitely the better character, mainly because again, Du is pretty similar to Buu besides some minor differences. There's also Goma, who's a fun addition, even if he is similar to Lord Pilaf. That being said, while there are similarities between the two, he still feels like his own distinct character. He may be goofy and silly like Pilaf, but he's still seen as a threat, even if that's mainly when he has the evil third eye in him. Anyway, besides Goma, Ku, and Du, there's a decent handful of other characters that are welcome additions. Aransu is an alright antagonist, plus she's hot, Pansy is fun, Glory Hole isn't half bad, and Neva is easily my favorite newcomer. The only characters I didn't care for were the Genyu knockoffs. They have like one or two fun moments, but that's about it. They can be removed and barely anything would change. They all look the same, they aren't threatening, and they aren't that funny either. Again, they're just a cheap and poor homage to the Genyu Force, and overall they seem like bad fan service and a cheap addition. The only good thing I'll say about them is that it is different to see them pose no threat at all compared to the Genyu Force, but besides that, they suck. Maybe if they were introduced in episode 16 instead of 14 and them getting their asses kicked was sped up, then they'd be fine. I think the problem is that the show isn't really self-aware of how much of a knockoff they are. It would have been funny if Goku or Vegeta called them out for being ripoffs and then quickly kicked their asses, but instead the scene and mainly the characters overstay their welcome and end up being extremely forgettable. Now, unfortunately, this isn't the only problem Daima has, because there's definitely a good handful of them. First off, there's the premise again, or mainly the idea of the series switching back to a more slice of life adventure instead of a superpower shonen. This might be a turnoff for some fans, and I can see why some people wouldn't like Daima because of it. However, I am overall okay with this decision, mainly because the original Dragon Ball worked very well as an adventure show. Also, after seeing so many stories center around the world being destroyed, it gets sort of repetitive after a while, although that's kind of what the series has turned into. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy seeing planets get blown up and even universes, but I'm also not opposed to going back to lower stakes too. There's only so many times you can say the planet is going to be destroyed before people stop realizing the significance of it. Nowadays, it's just a regular thing that every single enemy can do, so it is refreshing to see Daima take a step back and have lower stakes. However, while I do enjoy this aspect, it's also sort of jarring to see this too. By this point, the series has changed and evolved so much that you can't just go back to the way things were in the original Dragon Ball. The show isn't about going on an adventure and collecting the Dragon Balls anymore. Instead, it's about Goku and Vegeta protecting the planet and universe from insanely powerful foes. Is it great that this is what the show has turned into? That's up for you to decide, but either way, it's jarring going from Super Broly and even Hero to this. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think this is overall a good decision, and I'm glad that Daima exists. It is refreshing to see the show have some meaningful stakes again, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't have any issues with this change.
We need balls! Balls! Balls!
Anyway, besides that, there's other issues, such as being confused when exactly this takes place. Like I already said before, this is 1 year after Buu and a few years before Super. However, I only found this out after I looked it up. When we first see everyone, they're celebrating Trunks' birthday and apparently also Earth's return to existence day. Guess this means that it's been a full year since the Earth was wished back after Buu destroyed it, but either way, it's said rather quickly and never brought up again. Would it really have hurt for the narrator to say it's been 1 year since Buu's defeat or something simple like that? Not a big problem or anything, but still, it's an annoyance that could have easily been fixed. There's these bugs that Goku found and likes to eat that all do various things. One of them lets him fuse with someone, although we never get to see it, which just seems like a big tease. Why mention that one of them can do this if they aren't going to show it off? Thought they were going to have Goku fuse with someone like Piccolo or even the Supreme Kai. That would have been sick. Despite Aransu being insanely smart, she's somehow too lazy to learn Namekian. Instead, she makes Glory Hole learn it and hopes he'd grant her wish of becoming the king of the demon realm. But of course he doesn't and wishes for everyone to return back to normal. Why not learn it yourself? What are you, stupid?
I'm kind of retarded.
Why does Porunga talk in English or Japanese but won't grant a wish unless it's spoken in Namekian? This was a problem in Z, but I'm only noticing this now somehow, so I guess it's worth complaining about. There's some dumb retcons, although one of them is sort of a retcon of a retcon, which I think is actually pretty funny. Demon King Piccolo was seen as a demon, but then in Z it's revealed that he's an alien, although now in Daima he's back to being a demon. Don't Don't know why, but I think it's really funny how Toriyama changed his mind twice like this, and I'm sure a decent amount of you watching didn't even realize this. As for the actual annoying retcons though, there's a Supreme Kai and Kibito being unfused. They revealed this in Super, which a lot of fans didn't like, but either way that didn't offend me like it did with some other fans. What's dumb is that Goku sees the Supreme Kai and Kibito in the Universe 6 arc and is told that they unfused after making a wish with the Namekian Dragon Balls. However, in Daima, they're already unfused. Goku and everyone sees them, and apparently they asked Buu to unfuse them since his magic undoes the Potara fusion. Say what you want about the Kai's unfusing and how dumb it is, but this is 100% a retcon. This completely goes against what was mentioned in Super and basically means there's no way Daima is canon, or at least in the same timeline as Super. Not only that, but there's also the two new forms, which are Vegeta Super Saiyan 3 and Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Now, of course, I got spoiled for these before I watched the show, when at first I thought they were both stupid additions. Was Super Saiyan 3 really necessary? Feels like it was added purely for fan service. However, the more I thought about it, the more I began to realize that Vegeta going Super Saiyan 3 really isn't too dumb or even bad at all. For 3 decades, it's just been an anomaly that Goku could go Super Saiyan 3, but for some reason Vegeta couldn't. This is especially strange since he can go Super Saiyan God and Blue despite never achieving Super Saiyan 3. But like I said, shortly after watching the scene, and especially after him using the form as an adult, I sort of began to like it. Vegeta going Super Saiyan 3 isn't an issue since it's not really a retcon. Goku does use the form from time to time, but normally in Super, he goes blue instead. The main reason is because Super Saiyan 3 drains so much energy in a short amount of time, which is a quirk that I really like. Besides the design being badass, it's a nice feature that helps separate it from the other forms. Because of this, you can assume that this is the reason why Vegeta decides not to use it. It's still weird why he would never use it in Super, but either way, I'm fine with the addition. My big problem with it though is its reveal, which might be a hot take, but I think it's sort of... For 3 decades, fans have been waiting to see Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, and the first time they get to see it is when he's in his kid form. That's super underwhelming, lame, and also unnecessary too. He goes Super Saiyan 3 against Goma in episode 19, so why not wait until this moment to reveal that he has this form? Was the Tamagami he fought earlier really that strong? I honestly don't think so, even though Vegeta was in his kid form. Saving this reveal for this moment would have been sick, especially since it looks 20 times cooler when Vegeta is an adult. The same goes for Super Saiyan 4, although to a much bigger extent. So Goku is hurt, but then Neva comes, heals him, and then he turns into Super Saiyan 4. When I first saw this, I was pretty annoyed and confused. Originally, I thought Neva granted Goku the power to go beyond Super Saiyan 3, which let him transform to Super Saiyan 4. That's really dumb and makes the transformation feel unearned, but you know what? I'd rather that have been what actually happened. What we later find out is that Neva healed him, Goku transformed, and apparently he's had this form for a while due to training. So let me get this straight. You're telling me that this entire time, all throughout Super, Goku has been able to go Super Saiyan 4? That's fucking stupid. That's such a dumb retcon that contradicts things from Super. When Goku meets Beerus for the first time, he shows him all of his forms up to Super Saiyan 3. That was the strongest form he had at the time, but now you're telling me that he could go Super Saiyan 4? Then why didn't he transform then? Did he forget he had this form? This is such an ass pull and I don't like it. This is also a copy of the Super Saiyan 3 reveal in the Buu Saga where Goku is explaining all of his forms. We never see him go Super Saiyan 3 for the first time, and the same goes for 4. If this was his first time in the form, that would have been sort of cool. This is his first time using it, so he's not used to how powerful it is or why he looks like this. But no, he's already used it before, and again, it's just like Super Saiyan 3. The thing that's also annoying is that this didn't need to be a retcon. Super Saiyan 4 could have been a temporary form that Goku is only able to use while in the Demon Realm. Maybe he gathers all the energy from the air or gas and uses that to transform instead. Or better yet, maybe he uses the evil third eye, which grants him the power to transform to Super Saiyan 4. These scenarios would have made it so Goku could only transform at this one time, or at least only in the Demon Realm. That wouldn't make it a retcon, although it would still be weird that the form would never be mentioned in the series again. Either way, I'd be willing to accept Super Saiyan 4 as a cool new form if it wasn't such a big retcon. Besides that though, there's its reveal, which again, is undermined and underwhelming since it happens while Goku is still a kid. The art and animation is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but seeing him go this form as an adult is really cool, especially since the design is so great and distinct. Just like with Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, they should have saved this reveal for when Goku was an adult. That would have made it so much better.
Let's take it outside.
Anyway, my only other complaint is that since it is more of an adventure and even slice of life series, it's not as thrilling and bingeable as something like Z and even Super. That's mostly fine, although there are definitely moments in episodes that are sort of too slow and not that entertaining. Not a lot, only a small handful, but still, there were occasions where I wasn't too entertained. Besides that, I can't think of anything else that bothered me, even if most of my issues weren't that major. Now, I already mentioned aspects that I liked, but there's one that I've saved for last, which of course is its art. Even if you despise Daima for some reason, you can't complain about its art at all. You can say that everyone being kids is dumb and lame, but as for its visuals, designs, and animation, it's fucking insane. This is going to sound crazy, but the art in the first episode especially, I'd argue, is distractingly good. Yeah, you heard me right. Not distractingly bad, but so goddamn good where it's somewhat difficult to pay attention. I'm not joking. All I could think about during the first 10 minutes of episode 1 was how fucking incredible it looked. I was gooning nonstop over how accurate and fantastic these characters looked. This is the best Dragon Ball has ever looked, and this is coming after the Tournament of Power and Super Broly. I don't know how, but the series manages to look better and better every time something new comes out. Well, except for Superhero. That sort of looks like... Not every episode is unbelievable, but at the same time, it doesn't need to be. The slice of life episodes and moments still look really good, but the fights, holy shit, do they look amazing. The last few episodes especially feel like they belong in a theatrical movie. It is insane how fucking fantastic the fight against Gomu looks. Not only is the animation awesome, but so is the opening theme too. Jaka-Jan slaps. It's catchy, it's memorable, it's great, I love it, and if you don't, then your taste in music sucks.
Big mouth.
Daima also marks the return of Stephanie Nadolny, who was the original voice of Kid Goku in the dub. Unfortunately, she was recast in Kai for Gohan, as well as for flashbacks of Kid Goku. That might just be my biggest problem with Kai, which is her not being in it, but at least after 20 years, we get to see her return as Goku, so I guess better late than never. Anyway, Dragon Ball Daima certainly has its issues, but it also clearly has its strengths, and overall, it's pretty decent. Definitely do recommend watching it, or at the very least giving it a chance, which is why I'm giving it a 6.75 out of 10. So now that Daima is done, what's next for the series? Well, since Toriyama sadly passed away last year, this means that Daima is now the last thing he's ever worked on for the series. Considering Daima was sort of a return to form for the series, it seems fitting that this would be his last work. Now that he's gone, Dragon Ball won't be the same without him. He was an incredible mangaka that created stories and characters that people have loved for decades. He wasn't a perfect writer, but he did have his own unique charm that I truly believe no one can replicate. The best example of this is actually Daima itself. This is something that literally no one asked for, but Toriyama didn't care. This is something that he wanted to make because he thought it would be entertaining, and overall I'd say it is. If it was up to Toei or the super mangaka Toyotaro, Daima would have never existed. Toei would have adapted whatever was going on in the manga, and the super manga would continue doing its own thing. Do I believe Dragon Ball can continue without Toriyama? Of course I do, but I don't really want it to. Yes, I'm sure some of the Toei writers and even Toyotaro can write some good stories and make some fun characters, but again, I don't think they'd compare to Toriyama's unique style of writing. So no, I don't want the series to continue, however I'm fine and actually am 100% for Toei doing the unthinkable. That being completely reanimating the original Dragon Ball series as well as Z from the ground up. We're talking about using the current Daima staff, updating the design, speeding up some of the pacing, and making it a perfect adaptation of Toriyama's manga. That's something I would love to see, and I hope Toei does it, although I really don't think they would. Anyway, what did you guys think of Daima? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And do you want the series to continue without Toriyama? Let me know down below.
Sticking out your jaw for the Rizzler.
Well, that's going to do it for this video. If you liked it and want to support me, you can either leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, and make sure to hit the bell. You can also support me on Patreon or here on YouTube by becoming a channel member starting at only 99 cents a month.
But shit, it was...
There's also a Discord server up that you can join using the link down below. Anyway, time to go work on my 7-hour review of the greatest anime of all time, Heaven's Lost Property. That'll be out eventually.
Dude, this car's ass!